took action to release a probationary classified employee from their position before the conclusion of the probationary period on a 4-0-1 vote with one board member absent. And then the board approved the student settlement agreement also with the 4-0-1 vote with one board member absent. And then we will go to the announcement of the meeting protocols. The Board of Trustees encourages public participation during the meeting and requests civility and the use of courteous language. The board does not condone the use of profanity, vulgar language, gestures, or other inappropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed at any meeting participant and/or district employee. There will be an opportunity to speak to the Board of Trustees on items not on the agenda during the public comment, item 4.5, as well as opportunities to speak to each item on the agenda when that item comes up for consideration. In the interest of facilitating the conduct of the public's business, members of the public who wish to address the board during the meeting will have specific time limits as follows. If less than 10 members of the public wish to comment on agenda or non-agenda items, the time limit for each public comment will be 3 minutes per person, and if 10 or more members of the public wish to comment on agenda or non-agenda items, the time limit for each public comment will be 1.5 minutes. A complaint about a specific employee or employees of the district should be made to that employee's immediate supervisor or the school site principal as outlined in our board policy and administrative regulation. Please complete the comment form located on the side table in the back of the room, and we will call on you when it is your turn to speak. This meeting is being audio-video recorded and will be archived. All right. We are now going to move to the special recognition presentations. We have a slight deviation on the agenda. We're going to call up Principal Mark Boljon to welcome our student board member. Okay.
Good evening. Oakmont High School is lucky to have Peyton Gomez representing our school and, most importantly, the student body on the school board. Peyton brings a wealth of knowledge to this position as she has been in student government during her 3 years at Oakmont. Before Oakmont, Peyton was also part of the student council at Crestmont and Ike. During her time in student government at Oakmont, Peyton has been in charge of community outreach, social media, the student store, and school rallies. In fact, Peyton will be in charge of the Oakmont rally at Ike on Thursday, which is part of our feeder school outreach program. Peyton has been in contact with Ike teachers and administrators, making sure everything is set for the rally. As a student, Peyton takes multiple AP classes and is on the volleyball team. Peyton has expressed a desire to be a physical therapist when she leaves high school. Finally, when asked why she wanted to be a student rep on the school board, Peyton stated that she pursued this student representative board position because she feels it is important to advocate for the school and the students. Oakmont High School is proud of Peyton Gomez for representing us on the Roseville Joint Union High School School Board. Thank you, Peyton.
Good evening. It's my honor this evening to present to you the 2025 RJUHSD Site and RJUHSD Teachers of the Year. Before we get going, I would like to give a brief minute just to say thank you to all of our families, friends, and loved ones that are here this evening to celebrate. As a reminder to everybody everybody, this is just the start of the California Teacher of the Year process. So this evening, while we're recognizing 7 of our teachers from around our district, 2 of our teachers will move forward to the Placer County Teacher of the Year process. If successful at that level, 1 of our teachers would move forward to the California Teacher of the Year process and could potentially represent RJUHSD as a California Teacher of the Year. So early on in the process, but nonetheless exciting and a great opportunity for all of our teachers that are here this evening. Too often we get caught up in the quizzes, the tests, the assignments, the content, and we forget about, we get focused on the what, and we forget about the who and the how. We forget about the vital role the teachers play in the lives of our students. As I think back on my education, it's not the content I remember most, but the teachers and the impact they had on me, on my life. Ruth Stone, as a matter of fact, my 12th grade English teacher. I'll never forget it, not because of what she taught me about critical reading or writing, but about the importance of following through, the significance of a job well done. You see, good teachers plant a love for learning and help mold and shape who and what we become. There's a quote about teachers that says, while they teach us to count, they also teach us what counts most. Their impact is felt in our lives and our world for generations. The RJUHSD Teachers of the Year, our friends, our relatives, our loved ones, are those teachers. They are each kind, caring, and compassionate, while also being extremely competent and well-versed in the art of teaching and learning. It's our honor this evening to recognize and celebrate the 2025 School Site and RJUHSD Teachers of the Year. It's my pleasure to introduce our first School Site Teacher of the Year from West Park High School, Patrick Neff, and his principal, Becky House.
Good evening. I'm so happy to be here to speak about Mr. Neff. You stand right here, I know. It's hard to fit this in the time limit, but Mr. Neff is extraordinary. He has built an award-winning band program at West Park in our brief history. He's also won his own individual awards from the California Music Educators Association. Patrick was one of our first hires, and his interview left a lasting impression. He shared a vision during that meeting that I can guarantee you has since become a reality. Patrick designed our uniforms. You can see them there, they're amazing. Wrote the fight song, not just the music, but the words, ordered instruments, and cultivated classroom environments that students truly love. His bands are captivating, and the halftime show this year was a perfect example. Energetic, exciting, and memorable. There were students that spun in these red cages. I can't even really explain it. You had to see it, look it up online, really cool. One of the most entertaining moments of any game is watching Patrick with his golden toilet seat. When the lid is open, you cheer. When it is closed, you stay quiet. A lighthearted tradition that showcases his fun-loving spirit. Patrick is also a devoted supporter of West Park students and a very valued colleague. His coworker Anthony Darris said, "Patrick is a great mentor, colleague, and friend. He is the epitome of a fantastic educator. What I value most is his willingness to listen and compromise to make sure everyone is being heard. I have worked for a few band directors over the years, and I say it over and over that I would, without a doubt, choose to work alongside him. In my opinion, he's the best multifaceted band director. All of his groups are successful, and his energy and hard work are the core of that success. I appreciate everything he has done for me personally, and I know the student, staff, and parents feel the same way." And student drum major Camilla Young echoed this sentiment, saying, "Mr. Neff is an exemplary role model when it comes to putting forth your best effort on everything you aspire to accomplish. As his student, I learned the importance of strong work ethic combined with the determination necessary to strive for excellence always." And on a personal note, my son will join the West Park Band next year, and I couldn't be happier for Mr. Neff to be his role model in the next 4 years. West Park High School is honored to celebrate Patrick Neff as our Teacher of the Year representative.
Next, from Roseville High School, Patty Leong and her principal, Ashley Staring.
It is my honor to introduce Roseville High School's Teacher of the Year, Miss Patty Leong. Ms. Leong has dedicated 25 years to education, with 20 of those years at Roseville High School. She currently teaches all levels of art, AP Studio Art, AP Art History, is our Visual Arts Department Coordinator. She's taught AVID for us, and fun fact, she's also taught algebra and pre-algebra. Ms. Leong's favorite thing about teaching is those aha moments when students see the world differently. She helps students conquer creative fears and take risks and understand art's role in transforming communities, which is evident in her role as the advisor of both the Paint Club and the Mural Club, where she supports student-created paint nights and mural projects, not only for Roseville High, but throughout the community. Her students describe her as, quote, caring, inspiring, kind, patient, and so deserving of this recognition. One student shared, quote, she doesn't just teach us about art, she makes us feel inspired to go and find these art pieces all around the world. Another student shared that Ms. Leong has a, quote, contagious passion for art which shines through in her class. She encouraged me to be proud of my work, and I'm really grateful that she's pushed me to get my art out there. Colleagues describe Patty as the heart of Roseville High, someone who's humble and passionate, a well-respected leader who spreads light and positivity to all she encounters. She's admired on campus for her quiet leadership, her unwavering dedication to the arts, and her positivity even in challenging moments and budget crises. Beyond school, Patty treasures time with her husband Thomas and their children Gavin and Georgia, and finds joy in reading, traveling, creating her own artwork, and spending time with friends and family. Ms. Patty Leong, you have transformed classrooms, you have inspired countless students and staff, and enriched our school community, and I am truly honored to recognize you as Roseville High's Teacher of the Year.
Next, from Roseville Pathways, Erin Cook and her principal, Ross Fernandez.
It is an honor to stand in front of everybody today to recognize an exceptional educator, someone who embodies the very best qualities of a teacher and mentor, Mrs. Cook. Over my past 2 decades, few have stood out the way that Mrs. Cook has. She is not only a gifted teacher, but also a tireless force for good in the lives of all her students. Whether they are excelling or facing challenges, Mrs. Cook meets every student where they are with a positive solution mindset that inspires confidence and resilience. Every day she welcomes each student into her classroom with a smile, positive words, and a genuine care that makes them feel seen and supported. She doesn't just teach lessons, she teaches perseverance, self-belief, and the power of a strong mindset, all with a positive sense of humor that captivates her students. Mrs. Cook's patience and unwavering dedication ensure that no student ever feels left behind. What sets Mrs. Cook apart is her ability to turn challenges into opportunities. She constantly innovates her teaching methods, adapting to meet the diverse needs of her students. She knows how to motivate and lift even the most struggling learners, finding creative ways to reach them and help them realize their potential. The academic growth we see in her students is a testament to her passion and expertise. Mrs. Cook is more than just a teacher. She's a mentor and a guide and a true inspiration. We are incredibly fortunate to have her as part of the Pathways family. And I always speak for everybody on that campus is when I say that her impact is immeasurable. I can say without a doubt that of the hundreds of educators I've observed over the past 2 decades, Mrs. Cook is one of the most gifted and successful teachers I have ever seen. So congratulations.
School, Jeanette Snyder, and her principal, Mark Bourgeon.
We are proud to be able to introduce Oakmont's Teacher of the Year nominee, Jeanette Snyder. Jeanette is Oakmont's English Learner Coordinator, an English teacher, ELD teacher, AP teacher, and on the school site council. Jeanette has always shown a passion for helping our English learners and often holds training sessions during her prep period to help other Oakmont high school teachers learn skills to help increase ELD students' understanding and success. Students in her class are engaged and excited to learn because of her friendly approach, kind personality, and most importantly, her willingness to do whatever is needed for students to pass the LPAC test. In fact, over the past 3 years, the pass rate has gone up from 15% to 30%, and with more identified EL students being tested than 3 years ago. For many years, Jeanette has also been a trusted and supportive staff member for the LGBTQ+ students. She offers a safe space for students to meet regularly and helps the club members participate in district workshops and events. On a personal note, Jeanette was my son's teacher, Hank, and I asked him the other day, like, what was nice about Mrs. Snyder's class? And the one thing he said, going back to everything we just talked about, is that Dad, she cares about us. She wants us to get good grades, and she wants us to be successful. So as a father, thank you, Jeanette. Thank you, Jeanette, for everything you do for Oakmont community. We are lucky you are a Viking. Let me get the right one. This is Hayden.
All right, and now from Antelope High School, Hayden Olheiser and her principal, Lindsay Guest.
That is that Hayden and Mark worked really closely together last year. So it's like you got to say hello over too. I am so excited to be here tonight to celebrate an amazing member of our school community, Hayden Olheiser. You might recognize Hayden. She was here earlier this school year accepting a recognition for an award through Special Olympics. So happy second board meeting. Hayden is especially fun for me to give this recognition to because I kind of feel like I've watched teacher Hayden grow up over the last 7 years, and she started kind of newish with us at Antelope, and now she is a leader and a mentor on campus. Hayden is one of those teachers who truly makes a difference every single day. She teaches with heart, and she makes sure every student feels seen, supported, and capable of achieving great things. Whether she's co-teaching Integrated Math 1 or leading our Unified Sports program, her focus is always on what's best for students. In the classroom, Hayden brings an energy that is absolutely contagious. She has this incredible ability to keep students engaged and excited to learn, using strategies that meet students where they're at and help them succeed. I can think of many, many students who either have or will graduate from Antelope High School because of Hayden's influence on them. I'm thinking of one in particular right now that you'll figure out who it is. And they have a very unique personality that can drive teachers absolutely up a wall. And some of their learning disabilities make them a handful in the classroom, but Hayden is always so patient and so kind with this student, but also holds them accountable to getting their work done. And usually she's sitting right next to the student in the library or in classroom, like hold a pencil, open the computer. But because of Hayden, the student's gonna graduate in June, and that's just absolutely incredible for a kid that might not have been able to do that without Hayden's influence. Beyond the classroom, Hayden is a huge part of what makes our school special. She's a special education department chair and has been a champion for unified sports in our district. She's always willing to mentor new teachers, lend a hand, or step up wherever she's needed. She's played a tremendous role in building a supportive, student-centered culture that we're so proud of at Antelope High School. It's kind of hard to walk across campus with Hayden because she's like a celebrity. Like you're walking, you're like, Miss O, and it's just like, hi, me here, I'm here too. But they don't even see me when I'm with Hayden because they love her so much. We're lucky to have Hayden as part of our team. I can't think of anyone more deserving of this recognition. So on behalf of our school, thank you, Hayden, for everything you do for our students and community.
Granite Bay High School, our first RJUHSD Teacher of the Year, Heidi Rounds, and her principal, Greg Sloan.
All right, good evening. Heidi Rounds brings the wonders of science to life, sparking curiosity in her students. Her classroom is not just a place to learn, it's a space where students feel valued, challenged, and inspired. In 20 years of teaching, she has refined her craft while staying true to her purpose. The Roseville Joint Union High School District has been fortunate to have her the last 14 years, and the Granite Bay community is a better place because of her. When students learned that Ms. Rounds would be teaching IB Theory of Knowledge 1, enrollment more than tripled this year. Similarly, her IB Sports, Exercise, and Health Science course has more than doubled in size, now the second largest IB program at the school. Beyond the classroom, Heidi's contributions include leading Link Crew the last 3 years, coordinating the IB Creativity, Activity, and Service program, and serving as a class advisor each year throughout her 13 years at Granite Bay. She's now on her third cycle of kids that have gone through and graduated and she's working with. She advises student clubs and is frequently sought by students to serve as their IB Extended Essay Supervisor. She doesn't just not know how to say no, she actively seeks ways to foster leadership, community, and personal growth among her students. She has also earned the trust and respect of staff, serving as faculty advocate on the SILT committee and as the host of the monthly staff lunches throughout her role as the staff culture committee. Heidi is more than a teacher. She's a mentor, a guide, and a constant source of support for her students and colleagues alike. Her passion for education and her ability to connect with students on a meaningful level make her an invaluable asset to Granite Bay High School and to our district as a whole. It is my privilege to honor Heidi Rounds as Roseville Joint Union High School District Teacher of the Year. Thank you.
And finally tonight, from Wood Creek High School, our second RJUHSD Teacher of the Year, Krista Myers, and her principal is Sue-Ann Bell.
I know she doesn't like to be the center of attention, but she really deserves this. I'm beyond excited to introduce Krista Myers as the Wood Creek and District Teacher of the Year. Speaking about Krista in under 2 minutes is really not possible, but I'll try. I was told I need to talk fast, but you are deserving. She is an incredible educator and overall human who does so much for others. Her students and really our entire school are so lucky to have Krista. Her contributions at Wood Creek are so many that it is almost not believable for one person. You all might think I'm exaggerating, but it's 100% true. To start with, Krista teaches a diverse range of courses, including dual enrollment psychology, which is part of our education pathway, biology, dual enrollment college seminar, positive power, Link Crew, and a repeat biology course tailored for students requiring additional academic support, which she asked if she could teach. Outside of the classroom, Krista is one of our Link Crew advisors. In this role, she helps coordinate our freshman orientation as well as other freshman activities throughout the year to help make the 9th grade transition to high school welcoming and exciting. She also serves as a Sierra College transition counselor for Wood Creek, where she helps mentor and guide students towards their post-secondary goals. Additionally, this year, Krista asked if she could start a PAC 2.0 program. This mentorship program pairs staff members with students who need additional guidance and support from adults on campus. She is also one of our Wood Creek staff wellness coordinators. She and another staff member organize activities, nutrition workshops, and staff challenges that promote physical and mental health. Currently, she has our staff in teams of 2 and 3, and we keep track of daily exercises like squats, push-ups, fitness classes, and other activities and workouts that we get points for, and winners get gift cards, so it's very competitive. It's not unusual right now to walk into the office at Wood Creek and see adults doing mountain climbers together and other activities in the middle of the school day. I'm sorry. Krista is also our head track and field coach, where she completely exemplifies the inside-out coaching philosophy. And finally, she is also the mom of a Wood Creek student, William, and will eventually have 2 sons, and Andrew.
at Wood Creek. Next year?
Next year.
Next year, exciting. I told you she does just about everything. Her passion, leadership, and unwavering commitment to her students and colleagues make her a truly exceptional educator and an inspiration to all. One of her students summed it up at the best. The student said, "Mrs. Myers is seriously the best teacher I've ever had. The atmosphere that she creates in her classroom is exactly what every student needs. There's not been a single day in her class where I haven't left feeling in a much better mood than I came in with. She has given me a reason to be excited towards school. She has the kindest heart and an empathy so strong that I hope I can have it one day too. She creates such a positive environment in her classroom that motivates her students to strive for more, work harder, and have a happier look out in life. She makes you feel heard, seen, cared about every single day. I can't imagine how much of a better place the world would be if we all were a little bit more like Mrs. Myers." Congratulations.
We are absolutely incredibly blessed to have 7 teachers representing us at this level, and with teachers like this all around our district. If we could all give our Teachers of the Year one more round of applause.
All right, that was awesome. Thank you, Mr. HC, and congratulations again to all of our Teachers of the Year. I have to say that my oldest son has had Mrs. Leon for 4 years in a row now at Roseville High, and he absolutely loves her. And I have to tell you this because he's shy and he wouldn't say this on his own. But last semester he didn't have art, he had ceramics instead, which he loved, but he was having withdrawals. He took money one day from his job that he's doing part-time. He's like, "Mom, I've got to go to Michael's craft store because I'm having paint withdrawals." And he had all these canvases and brushes and oil paint and all the things, and just started painting over break and over last semester that he didn't have you. He loves that. So I haven't gone and throw him out there. And it just was so heartwarming because he does, he loves art so much, and he brought that out in him. So I just want to see, I get emotional. That he just loves your class, and all of our teachers are so phenomenal. So thank you, and congratulations to all of you. All right. Alright, so moving on to section 5, reports and communications. 5.1, our board expectations, trustee
Okay, so our board expectations. Prepare all students for life, college, and career through high quality academic opportunities for all students and support student academic success. Engage in partnership with families and the community. The school is a welcoming, safe environment that serves as the center of student learning, activities, athletics, and performing arts. Promote a sense of community in our schools and the surrounding areas. And utilize effective governance and business practices. Remain open, transparent, and accountable to the community. Serve as an employer of choice with the highest quality teachers and staff.
On to board reports. Do you want to go first? First report number?
Yep, nothing to report.
Well, that's your favorite kind of report.
Yes, it is.
I had a nice meeting with Joe Landon, our assistant superintendent over business services. Did I say that right? Business services? All of a sudden, it's like, which I really enjoyed, and I'm going to bring something up about that a little bit later, but I appreciate his time on that. And also, my daughter has Pride of the Pack night next week, so we're looking forward to that at Wood Creek High School. So, upcoming freshmen. Woo woo!
All right, fantastic. I had a great visit over at Roseville Adult School. diploma program, so that was always a special visit, and many of us are able to attend the graduation, so we're excited about that. I have back to school night tomorrow night at Roseville High as well for my freshmen and senior, so that's exciting. And then our City of Roseville interns all started their internships this week, and so I have for the first time ever a fitness intern from Granite Bay High School who also got to take Miss Heidi Brown's class, and I didn't say it fast enough, but she's part of the IB Advanced Exercise Science program that they have for the IB at Granite Bay, and so I get to start, she started on Sunday, and we have City of Roseville internships in HR and marketing and all different areas of the city, so that was a fun kickoff this week as well. That's it.
I want to say congratulations to all the teachers, since they've already left. I know every adult in this room would have a story of their favorite teacher that made the biggest impact in their life, and so I have no doubt there are many students already that would be calling out each of those names. So I was able to attend as a parent back to school night last night, positive at Grant Bay and Positive Energy. I wanted to just share that I appreciated Mr. Sloan highlighted in the video CAPS testing this spring. I'm sure all the schools are doing it. And I know it's only one benchmark. We shouldn't hang our hats on everything, but I appreciated the sharing of the value and why it's important. So hopefully the parents got that message. And also the counselors did a fabulous presentation for the junior parents going to college. So I missed it for some reason with my seniors. So that was my first time I was able to sneak in there. So thank you.
I just wanted to share some of our past events. Before break, we had a Holiday Helpers event, which is a community outreach to underprivileged elementary school. So we were able to purchase a gift and a need for every single student at Antelope Meadows Elementary School. We also had a mini Spirit Week, the week of finals, to get students excited for the holiday break. Upcoming, we have a Disney Leadership Conference that our student government class fundraise for, so we are taking 50 leaders to that. Students will have the opportunity to go to the leadership conference for 3.5 hours and then go to the park. We also have our first Sadie's dance in a very long time coming up in February, which will be accompanied by a Spirit Week, hall decorating, and a rally. Like Mr. Bolshon said, we have the Ike rally going on Thursday, so we are going to go and have some community outreach with our feeder school. Not only that, for community outreach, but we also have the 8th grade showcase coming up at the end of the month. So that will be very exciting to show our AP and IB courses, CTE pathways. Next week we have Club Rush coming up, so we can get some freshmen involved. We also have winter sports starting, as well as the spring sport conditioning. We have back to school night tomorrow as well, and we have some students from student government going to the LCAP meeting tomorrow. And that's it.
Great, thank you. On to Superintendent.
Yes, welcome back to everybody. Happy New Year. It's good to see everyone. The first one is communications. The Placer County School Boards Association has 3 positions open on the executive committee. These are 3 3-year term positions, and the committee meets once or twice a year and works with the county office to select recipients to honor at the annual trustee dinner. And this election takes place in March of this year. So at this point, there's no action. Just want to know if there's any interested board members to be placed on this list. Trustee Schutz has expressed interest, and I just, before we send in, want to know if anybody else was interested in having their name thrown in the mix for one of these positions. Trustee Coleman, anyone else? All right, so I will list Trustee Coleman and Trustee Schutz on there. Thank you. And then second, just, congratulations to all of our Teachers of the Year. I know many of them personally, hired a few of them, got to work with many of them. It's just a phenomenal group, and it's just a slice of so many amazing things that go on in our district. And so they get up here, they get a plaque, but they really represent so many people in our system that do such great work for kids every day. But for them to be voted in by peers and then to be selected through an interview process, just very proud of them. And like I said, I know some of them personally, and it's been a long time coming for some of them. So just congratulations to that whole group. It's a great group, and they'll represent us well.
All right, and then moving on to committee reports. Do we have it? I don't believe so. Okay. And the NATALY report.
Good evening. Ditto for what Mr. Becker said. It was really an honor to see these teachers who are recognized. It makes me excited for the position that I am in, because we have some amazing teachers in our district. That was just a handful, and I had the pleasure of also working with many of them. And they really make us better teachers. There's some of them I still call up like, hey, how do you get over this? Because you think I have energy? Oh my God, some of them have way more than energy. Not every day. So it just kind of shares with you what's going on. One quick little thing is Happy New Year, and I wanted to share that we've worked with communication, and I want to say a little like thank you to getting a lot more phone calls, and we're taking a moment to actually pick up the phone call and say, hey, I'm not quite understanding this, can we have a conversation? I want to say thank you. And then also we met right before break, and I apologize, I should have brought this up right before break, but so much happens right before break happens. We had a chance to meet with Ms. Crows and Mr. Bastion, had a conversation about our implementation of Canvas, which has been a 3-year growth. And it's really, I appreciate the value of having that opportunity to sit down and actually talk and work our ways through it. Because you guys see things on a very different scale than what we see in the classroom. And I want to say when we come to the table and we have these conversations, we're really advocating for our students. Because we have certain students on different levels, and when we're trying to advocate for them, sometimes it comes through us professionally, but also because we hear the woes and everything else. But we're really there to work with students and every student to make sure that they are achieving what they need to. Because we work, again, in a wonderful district. And I want to say thank you to my colleagues who literally help us carry the district through, as well as you signing us, giving us really great raises and also supports in the classroom. So I want to say thank you for that, and that's my report.
All right, thank you. And next we have public comment. So far I have just one public comment card. Is there anything else or any more? No? Okay, so we have Bernadette Kramer for public comment tonight, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. So glad to be here. Good evening. My name is Bernadette Kramer. Thanks, Rob. My name is Bernadette Kramer, and I'm the International Baccalaureate Diploma Coordinator at Granite Bay High School, and I also teach English there. I'm here this evening because I know that we have new board members and new positions, and I'd like to help you understand how IB fits into the Grizzly family and into the district's vision. One of your board priorities is to increase access and enrollment in college-level courses such as AP, IB, and DE. And one of the district's LCAP goals is to enhance access and support for advanced coursework, including AP and IB programs focusing on outreach, tutoring, and program effectiveness. We're successfully addressing both of those goals through IB at GB. Here's some data of which you might not be aware. Last year, 446 students at Granite Bay were enrolled in at least one IB class. That means that 46.5% of juniors and seniors were taking at least one IB course. Even more noteworthy is the fact that this school year, we have had an additional increase in enrollment of 55% over last year's numbers. Those 3 data points would not be that high were it not for one recent change to our IB diploma program, and that was the initiation of a co-seating pilot that this board approved as a resolution in May of 2023. We are currently co-seating CP English juniors and seniors with IB language and literature students. All the students are receiving the same instruction, and all are being prepared for success in IB assessments. When we were approved by the board in 2023, we talked about 11 different advantages to the co-pilot, but in this limited time tonight, I will mention just one of them. The co-seating plan gives more students an opportunity to switch to the IB HL course, earning college credit and extra GPA weight, allowing students to let go of seeing themselves as not that kind of student, not the kind of student who enrolls in upper-level courses. Our data demonstrates that we are helping all students to see themselves as being successful, which means they change their transcript from CP to IB, and then they actually are successful in IB, and that is borne out by their grades. Students enter the course on whichever transcript they have chosen, either CP English or IB Language and Literature HL, and they have the first 20 days of each quarter to change their transcript. Last year, when the pilot started at the beginning of the year, we had 297 students on the CP English 11 transcript and 17 students in IB Language and Literature HL1. However, by the end of the school year, 163 additional students moved from CP to IB. That means that 55% of the CP English juniors changed their transcript. They changed their transcripts. Did they succeed? Overwhelmingly. 47% of those students earned an A, 32% a B, 17% a C, 3% a D, and less than 1% earned an F. Our CP English 11 students and IB diploma candidates held their own with grades that were commensurate with previous levels. I think you can see from this that students are matching or improving their achievements in our co-seated course, thereby helping the school board and district reach their goals, our goals. It's an exciting change because of the opportunities it affords all students. And I have a copy of my remarks for you from this evening that includes data that I have referenced. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to item 6, the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
I'll second. No one's pulling anything.
Okay. All right, we have a first and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, roll call vote, starting with Pete.
Yep.
Yes.
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 And in our student board members, yes. All right, so that is a 401 vote, one member absent to approve consent. And now to our item 7, action matters, appointment of district committees. So we have before us our committees moving into 2025. We have committee assignments that we had last year in Exhibit A, and then Exhibit B, our committee assignment for 2025, and a board policy attached to that. And then I know Pete wanted to discuss some things.
Yeah, I wanted to share some thoughts with you all. As we know, we've spent a lot of time working on strengthening our governance practices and clarifying our roles of the board and the administration. I think this item tonight gives us an opportunity to take another step in strengthening our practices. I think we can do this by examining why we have committees and what the committee's purposes are. Committees are intended to reduce the work of the board or enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of the board's oversight responsibilities. Policy committees and finance and budget committees are legislatively framed standing committees, and they're designed to meet the board's oversight responsibilities prior to the board's full review. These committees are both called out specifically as being subject to the Brown Act and legislation. Beyond that, though, the Brown Act defines legislative bodies very broadly, and it includes all committees, commissions, and other bodies that are created by formal action of the legislative body, which would be us, whether temporary, decision-making authority, or just advisory in nature. This section has been interpreted very broadly by the courts, and includes committees established at the administrative level, even if they're created by the superintendent, if any board members participate in those committees. There is an exception to this Brown Act law, and that's ad hoc committees. Ad hoc committees are committees of less than a quorum of the board, and this was the exception that we used when the exception that the boards used when prior boards created the intergovernmental committee, the athletics committee, and when appointing members to the SILT process. However, ad hoc committees must be, are strictly defined in law. They must be 1, purely advisory, 2, comprised of less than a quorum of the board, 3, must be temporary in nature. In other words, they can't have any continuing jurisdiction or work, must have an end date in mind, and may not have a fixed schedule that is set by the board. In prior actions, the board changed the designation of these groups by calling them liaison positions. Unfortunately, though, what we label them or call them doesn't really impact their status. It's really how they're defined, their work, their structure, and the duration. Also, as you know, we're supposed to follow Robert's Rules of Order, and Robert's Rules under section 5.3 specifies that committees may only consist of two types of committees: standing committees or special committees. Special committees go out of existence as soon as they have completed a specialized task. So this is really analogous to how the Brown Act defines the definition of an ad hoc committee. I provide all this background as a basis for my opinion that the Intergovernmental Relations Liaison Committee, the Athletics Liaison Committee, and the assignment of board members to SILT should no longer be assignments by our board and have board members assigned to them. The intended purpose of both the Intergovernmental Liaison and the Athletics Liaison have passed, and quite frankly, these groups never meet regularly, and therefore I think they should just be eliminated. On the other hand, SILT is an administrative created group that serves an administrative function outside of our board responsibility, that being the development of curriculum and the selection of supplementary instructional materials and textbooks. The board responsibility and the board work actually begins at the time the SILT administrative work ends. So our board has the responsibility for approval of the ultimate end of those items, but we don't have a role in the actual crafting of those items or the creation of the work that will come before the board. I don't think the board should continue to assign board members to SILT liaison positions. Otherwise, in order to comply with the law, the SILT work would have to be subject to all of the provisions of the Brown Act. Eliminating these liaison positions would also ensure that all 5 board members have the same information when agenda items originating from SILT come in front of the board for action. This is really important because the nature of California law is that it's not permissible for some board members to have access to information that pertains to anything that will be subject to the board's business or vote before other board members, unless that information is gained in a publicly noticed, publicly accessible meeting or in a defined committee meeting. Also, the student board rep liaison is something that has evolved from a board member role in the past to something that we have been assigning the superintendent when it's already his job to do that. So it's already an administrative function of the superintendent's office. So I provide all that to say that I think we should continue to have the 2 committees that are outlined by law, Policy Committee and the Finance Committee. But I'm really concerned that we continue having the other committees, or as we call them, liaisons, because then I believe we've been operating outside of the bounds of what California law allows us to do. So those are my thoughts. I steered you all off, but all right.
Other thoughts, questions?
Sure, that's really interesting, Pete, and I always appreciate your expertise and knowledge in governance. I feel like that's one of your strengths on the board. I really love attending the SILT meetings, and I don't want to. I think that's a really important part of our oversight, and for me, I'm just trying to think, is there a way to continue to do that? Because I feel like it's very important. It gives me that additional time that I have needed to feel particularly comfortable about the curriculum that we're approving here. To see the process has been very, very beneficial to me, to see all of the teams from the different sites working together. And so I would not like to see that go. I'm not sure if I can still just keep attending as a board member, but I think that's a very important part of our oversight is the curriculum. So is there a way to do that without,
Well,
I mean,
I don't necessarily agree with attending the meetings as an important part of our oversight because our roles are clearly defined in law. We have a policy on our role in curriculum. I think it is helpful to understand the process, and as board members, we have the ability to go out and ask to be invited to meetings and go engage in different things where it's appropriate. But two issues are, one, I think if we were to continue to do this, I do believe that we have to do it properly, and I didn't realize, quite frankly, that we had strayed so far from what is allowed. And I don't think that committee is the appropriate type of committee to have an open public notice meeting, and I think, quite frankly, that's something that would take quite a bit of discussions with our teachers and our sites and our labor representatives to be able to do that, because that is a clearly administrative function. The other thing is, I'll tell you, there have been times when we've had items in front of us, and I listened to the information that some board members have that is quite a bit more than what I have, and law doesn't allow for that either. The way it is, when any board member receives information on a subject coming before us, we have to all be given it at the same time, because it creates a differential in our knowledge on the topic.
So can I ask a question about that? Because, and that's actually what I wrote down, everything you said. You said that individual board members are not allowed to have any information ahead of time before other board members. And I think about, we go to school sites and we tour and we have conversations with cabinet. And I know that they set up meetings and they certainly try to disperse similar information, but just by the function of our visits and our conversations and the questions I might ask versus you might ask, I learn information that you may not get. And so to say that we aren't allowed to have the same information there.
Well, it's different in the eyes of the law because of the structure of the committee.
So then we are allowed to have information ahead of time, but just not within a meeting?
Well, if, let's just say, for example, I called John and said, hey, I need a bunch of information on item number 8.5, whatever that may be. When he provides that, it should be provided to all board members. And when someone is engaged in the process of developing something, they're part of that process. And when you read sort of how the law laid out, I didn't bring the actual wording of the law, but it's in the Brown Act.
But I think the wording of the law might really matter because, for instance, today I sent an email to John and I just had a question and he answered it. And so now that you're saying he should have communicated that question and answer to everyone?
No, if you're asking a question for clarification for your own understanding, that's different from getting information that is coordinated or collated or developed, or you're part of the development. That has to be in an open public meeting for you to be able to do that.
I think I need better examples of what we've been doing incorrectly. Because, and only this is a big deal, what you're saying.
Well, the big legal part is the Brown Act, quite frankly, more so than the uneven
Absolutely. And I've been attending that meeting for probably 2.5 years now. Not allowed to speak. So don't ask questions publicly. And I just listen. And if I know whoever was my partner or buddy that was sitting at that SILT meeting, I know that if we're talking about, say, ethnic studies in SILT, okay, ethnic studies is who I have to talk to Tiffany about ethnic studies. So I don't think there's ever been a Brown Act that I'm aware, at least personally, around that SILT meeting.
Well, that's the problem. It's never been Brown Act notice. So when the problem is, we take official action as part of this board item to attach 2 board members to that committee. Once we do that, it becomes a subcommittee of this board, and by law we have to follow all of the items of the Brown Act. The only exception is if you're doing it on an ad hoc or temporary basis, which is how all of these things started, but then we never really finished them. And that's the issue. Now with the other 2, they sort of died by attrition over time, the athletics one and the intergovernmental.
I think my argument isn't to try to defend SILT specifically, even though I do like it. I guess I'm more concerned about these statements that you're saying that if I decide to meet with 2 and I want to dig further into ethnic studies or some topic, just because I'm interested in it.
So
I feel like you're saying that's wrong.
the difference is not the topic, but whether it's an agenda item. Everything that goes to SILT comes to us for action. That's where the issue is. It's about if there's a board action tied to that.
Okay, so one of my questions today was on, it was a consent agenda though. I'm sorry, forgive me, it's 8.1. So I sent a question to John about 8.1. And that's an agenda item.
Did he answer your question for clarification?
He answered it. And I guess,
Did he provide you any additional information other than what's in the packet or answer your question for clarification? That's really
yes,
where the
I learned
topic is.
something new that was not in the packet. And I don't want to, well, obviously we need to follow the law, so I'm not trying to get around the law. I'm asking clarifying questions because I want to be effective, and if you're making statements and urging the board to adopt procedures that hinder me from what I feel like is doing my own due diligence and doing a good job, then I'm bothered.
I'm not asking for any procedures. I'm asking that we make sure that our actions comply with the law. So I believe that if we appoint board members, continue to appoint board members to those that I talked about, athletics liaison, student board representative liaison, city and community liaison, and SILT, then we are continuing an ongoing work of the board, and that is a committee, and then we have to follow the law on committees. Separate from that, we can all call and ask for clarifying information on agenda items. John can answer those questions, but if he says, let's say for example, he decides to print out the state law regarding something and sends it to you, he has to send that to all of us. Not just answering questions, but if there's anything of substance that is new, that's what he's required to do. But I'm more concerned, quite frankly, about
With these,
the Brown Act issues and the noticing issues.
Can I just add, you mentioned that these are permissible if they are temporary. Is that the way you put it? So I believe on the SILT committee, it is still ongoing, the work of cleaning up cleaning up may not be the right word, but going through all of our curriculum, and it is an ongoing project that isn't complete yet. Of the curriculum, going through the curriculum, approving all the curriculum, the course descriptions, just the way they're all laid out, that is still an ongoing process that it has been underway for a few years, but it's not complete yet.
Well, the typical part is when you look at the case law, is it's usually duration of less than a year, is what it takes to fit an ad hoc committee. But there's a clarification in work that's done by the administration versus work of the board. Our work of the board is approval of the work that they complete. The work of the board is not to monitor their work as they do it. Once they complete it, if we don't like it, we can send it back for changes. Or if we approve it, and then 2 years down the line, we see that it's not coming out the way we expected, then we go into our oversight role and say, wait a minute, you told us that we were gonna see outcomes of 1 through 10, and we're not seeing those outcomes, so now we're exercising our oversight authority, and we want to have it back in front of our board, and we're gonna give you direction to do something different. That's a different type of oversight. So there's oversight, and there's work, there's administrative work, and there's policy work. Policy work and board approval is us. Administrative work is them. And it's the areas where school districts have the most problem is when administrators start doing board work and when board members start doing administrative work. That's where things tend to get muddy. And as you know, we've been spending the last 3 years really focusing on brightening that line. And obviously, I should have noticed this sooner, but you can only bite off so many projects at a time. I've been thinking about this and doing the research, and since we're taking action today, I felt it was the appropriate time to bring it up.
So would there be, and I don't know if this question is directed to cabinet or maybe all of us can discuss, but would there be another
You can work with the superintendent and site staff to go and observe activities, but you can't observe all of the continuing activity all the time. Because then you've gone past that role of learning and seeing and observing, sort of that oversight and education role, to a hands-on oversight of watching it remove it. It's one more step. So it's one thing for new board members to go, I've never been to a subcommittee meeting. I don't think it's necessary for what we do. So that's why I've never gone, because I think our role is distinctly different from what they do. And I think it's important that we focus on what our role is as a board. And our role is to tell them, give them direction, give them our priorities, let them go do their work, then receive the work, evaluate the work, see if it matches our direction, see if it matches the law, and then to approve it. Once we approve it, it's their job to implement, and it's our job to monitor and provide oversight. We can do that by having meetings. Like if we say, for example, this continuing work on curriculum is important, which I believe we all believe it is, then perhaps the answer is saying, okay, well, John, we need an every 6-month report on it so that we know what the activities are that are happening, so that we know if we had 500 items that needed to be done, 200 are done, 300 are left. These are how we changed our processes, but the board took action, fairly significant action, in laying out what the curriculum process was, and we gave it to them. Now it's their job to do it. We didn't at that time say, and board members are going to be involved in the hand. We should never be involved in the day-to-day sausage making of what happens. It's not our role as board members.
I think for me, the value that SILT has brought to me is hearing the perspectives of counselors and administrators, the questions they ask. Sometimes they share struggles doing their job, and how they can resolve it with whether it's clear outlines or I don't have great examples, but I feel like I understand where they're coming from, and so I've never felt like I've interfered or it's not my role to tell them what to do at all, but I have understood where those people in the room are coming from, and maybe that's just my own desire, and I realize I don't have to, but there is value to that, and so I also don't feel like I have to attend the SILT meeting every month, but there has been value.
I also don't think.
So how and granted there's site visits and I can certainly sit down one-on-one with some counselors and teachers, but it's fabulous to have everyone in the room at one time. And maybe it's just, we shouldn't have someone say, okay, I shouldn't be going every month, because then that makes it more of a set committee. But there has been value, at least for me, to be there.
I think we also have to be conscious of business is not usually business as usual when there's a board member in the room. I'll tell you, I know, and those of you who've walked around with me on site visits, I don't even like going to the classrooms, because I know when a board member shows up, things change in the classroom. And, we have to understand that just our title and our presence changes things. It's no different than when the principal steps into the back of a classroom, every kid behaves differently. No different than when you're at home and your kids are doing something, you walk in the room. There are subtle changes because there's a power dynamic. And part of our job is managing our influence when we're out there. And I think that it's really clear when you look at the policy governance models that our role is not in the day-to-day work. The law says it's not. The policy governance model says it's not. No matter how you look at it, it's not our role.
I make better decisions when I understand what's going on in the classroom now. But that's just my own thought. But I won't
I won't vote for those. I'll obviously vote for the others, but I just don't think it's appropriate for us. But everyone can vote their conscience, and wherever the board lands, the board lands.
Could I have clarification of what is it SILT committee is? Just as a student, we aren't really like enlightened on what all the different subcommittees are. So just a little bit more like detail on what it is, because I've never heard about it as a student, like people looking at our curriculum or
Yeah. Two would probably be.
Thank you for your question. So our SILT committee stands for Curriculum Instruction Leadership Team, and it's part of our process that reviews new or significantly revised curriculum, by which the SILT body is an advisory body then that will make a recommendation for me as staff member to bring forth to you as a Board of Education for your review, discussion, and approval or denial of any curriculum in front of our students.
And I think one of the key things is when we set up an advisory body, we have to let the advisory body do their work and bring us their advice. That's the whole purpose of an advisory body.
That is what we've been doing with SILT, though. We've just gone and observed. We haven't been giving them any advice at the committee. I'd be really interested to hear what Superintendent Becker, your thoughts in general on what Pete's saying here, and maybe also specifically on SILT, because it's kind of all new to me. I guess I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, as you know, we started diving into the weeds of some of the policy and law. You know, I'm absorbing a little bit like you all are. I would say with SILT, the biggest concern as I hear all that is when you have to Brown Act that meeting, it will no longer be the same meeting. And when you agendize it, now it's a public meeting, you have to open it up to the public, you'd have to have a meeting in here, set up like this. That's the concern, is that's where my mind went, is it would no longer be the meeting, you wouldn't hear the comments like Marla was talking about. It would definitely change the dynamic of everything with that. I will say, because there is good information that exists in that setting, and my thinking has been, and I'll work with Dr. Karabas on this, is how can we kind of extrapolate some of that in a consistent or timely fashion, present or somehow disseminate that to you, be it here, and maybe a quarterly meeting of what, lack of a better term right now, a SILT quarterly update that could try to extrapolate some of those things from that setting, outside of an action item on a book or a new course, but something more global or general that talks about all of those things that could be are in the mix right now in SILT or coming soon in SILT, so on and so forth. So I mean, I'm trying to think of some other possibilities to ensure that your interest in what is in SILT can still be placed in front of the trustees. So my mind's going there, but at the first place my mind went with Brown Act is then it would no longer be the meeting it is at that point, because people wouldn't, especially, I mean, we get teachers, they start hearing Brown Act and it feels like a board meeting, they'll stop coming. And so that'll really hinder the work of that. So, or we'd have to create another acronym meeting to attend and do some other type of work.
Does it have to be a Brown Act though meeting? I guess that's
if it's
where
a regularly standing monthly meeting, it has to be Brown Act agendized.
So how did SILT start then, and how did we get to where we are
Well,
now?
I need an older person like Brad to go back into the 80s, but it started out as continuous improvement team. Yeah, and so it was a little bit of a different setting. And then the SILT you see today is about 2-3 years old. But it was something else, and rarely did a board member ever attend. So it was a little bit different in that regard. Part of it is why we had so much cleanup to do the last 2 years. But it was just a totally different format at that point in time. So it was just different in that regard, in terms of a committee or a liaison role. But it's been around, just changed names about 2-3 years ago. That's when the name changed.
But why did, when, 2 or 3 years ago, when the iteration that we have now, and we started putting board members on it, what was the reasoning or the plan then? You may not know right now unless you were.
I was there at the time, and there was some board interest in, board members' interest. We weren't all necessarily in alignment that it should happen, but there were some board members that felt very strongly about it. And so we had the discussion about whether it should be a committee or not. It started as a no title, and then it was brought up that it was at one of these meetings, I think it was my second organizational meeting, the discussion was, well, it sort of has evolved to this, and then someone said, well, if we call it a liaison, we can get around that. And so it was given the label of a liaison so that one person or 2 people could go and we're supposed to see what's going on and inform the board. I didn't agree with it at that time, but as you know, it's where the board wants to go, not where one board member wants to go. And so that's how it got started. And it's just, I'm not saying that none of us can ever go and just watch the process to understand the process. It's the continuing, the action by a board to assign someone to go creates a committee. The ongoing attendance of a board member, whether or not we do it as a board or not, triggers these other things, and those are my concerns. And I'll honestly say, I have heard from at least one teacher that they didn't say what they wanted to say at a silk meeting because there were board members present. And so there's also that issue of us being in other people's workspace.
I think part of the evolution of it that I remember was trustee Hirota and I initially attended one, and we each went together, and both of us sort of decided it wasn't for us. Not that we didn't like it or didn't enjoy it, but just that it wasn't our role. And we felt like, oh, okay, we went once, that's great. And then I believe that either Tag, Huber attended once. It was something very informal, where maybe 1 or 2 of us would kind of pop in, but there was never a consistent attendance. And so it wasn't like a true committee in the way that the board policy and finance and facilities was. And so I think that the consistent attendance is new perhaps when you began.
I assume so. I was just told I'm assigned to it, so.
Yes.
So I went.
So I might make a process suggestion, is we are missing one board member tonight. We could take action on the first 2 and then continue our discussion on these others at our next meeting and have all of us here to decide. Or we take a vote tonight, it doesn't really matter to me, but that's an option that we have.
Well, when I step back and I think, high level, you have 2 people attending the finance and facilities, 2 people attending board policy, and that has open meetings. And we have 2 people attending SIL, but we're handling that completely different. So from that high level perspective, I'm on board that we should be consistent. And then when I extrapolate that, I realize their work will totally change if that's a public meeting, and I don't want that. So from that logical pathway, I appreciate what you're saying.
And one of the other clarifying, because they're Brown Act meetings and committees, if you're not on the committee, you can go and observe. You can't just participate. So 2 members participate, the other 3 could go sit out there and garner the same information.
Well, I want.
If
I can't
anyone,
the board meeting, but it's a board policy meeting anytime.
right. So, and that is the whole premise behind the Brown Act is you can have just 2 members do it because it's public and anybody can see it. And there's minutes of those meetings and other things, and there's records for other people to be able to get that same information.
I can get behind that logic. So I will make a motion that we handle all of our meetings appropriately, consistent with the Brown Act. So therefore, we should not boards assigned to those liaison positions. I'm not saying that we can't ever attend, but
I think the
I
appropriate,
don't know what I don't even know what I'm making a motion on. I'm just saying I finally agree with you.
I think the motion would ultimately end up being that
Let's
we.
dump those. I make a motion to dump those.
We move to appoint people to the others and then disband the others. As far as board.
So that's one motion for that.
But we still gotta figure out who's on.
Did you second?
No, not yet, 'cause-
I'll second it.
well, that's not really a motion, that's just,
You know, then if you restate it, if you restate it.
we need to have the clarity of who's on the boards before we actually make a motion. So we should probably talk about the committees we're actually.
No, Kim has a question.
So she put forth a motion to get rid of the liaison, but there was no second on that.
So that's one.
You're not doing it.
Right. Not yet.
I was squashed.
Okay.
Just to clarify, because I am also, I mean, I appreciate the discussion so I can better understand your reasoning why. I think Superintendent Becker, you're also understanding the desire that I've expressed and Marla, and I don't know how much other board members would also, that there, for me, just to have something just show up on an agenda is not enough information for me, for curriculum. And so I would very much say, okay, I see what you're saying with the Brown Act, that we've got to have a different type of communication then about the curriculum. That's a really important aspect to me, personally on the board, and so I would need more.
Yeah, we'll work on that, duly noted, and we'll have something to prepare. And give you guys feedback follow up on that. So, thank you.
Okay, so moving on then to committee assignments, we're just looking at Finance and Facilities Committee, which currently is Marla and myself. That's who was on it last year. And then Board Policy Review, which last year was Pete and myself.
She knows it was me and Carrie, it was you before Carrie, and then me and Carrie last.
Okay, got it. I was true for a couple months.
Yeah, that's when you went to Finance
Yes.
and Facilities.
Okay, so does anyone have any of those two committees that they will bring there to be a part of?
How many are we having on each committee then? Are we
Two.
limited to
We
two?
only have two.
Yeah.
Okay,
Two.
so there can, somebody on our board is not going to be on a committee.
That's correct.
Well, I'd be happy to be on the Finance and Facilities Committee.
I would like to stay on board policy if possible and practical.
Okay. If I could, between the two, I would say board policy also.
Then Bill's not here, so you get to decide whether you want the open one or you want to give it to him.
Okay.
Yeah, because Bill had expressed interest in the intergovernmental liaison, which I don't know how we'll work with that. I don't know if that's just a board president function +1. She chooses with +1. I mean, maybe once a year it happens that we meet with them, but I don't know how we want to handle that. And then he had Silt, so.
Yeah, so the two that he expressed interest in.
But he's not here, so the president can assign.
Yeah, I mean, if he is on the, I forget what it's called, the county that we had appointed last time. So, yeah, I would be comfortable if we do Tiffany and myself on finance and facilities, Pete and Marla on board policy. Does that sound?
So I could make that into a motion if you like.
I would like.
I would like to make a motion that the Finance and Facilities Committee be comprised of Tiffany and Heidi, and the Board Policy Review Committee be comprised of me and Marla, and that we disband the athletics liaison, the student board representative liaison, the city and community liaison, and the SILT team liaison.
I will second. Quick question though, but I'm assuming that John was on this student board liaison. I don't, he'll still do what he's doing. Okay, okay. So I would second that. Okay.
the two committees I was on are being disbanded, so I'm taking it a little personally right now.
But on the positive side, you get to move to a real standing committee.
You get Joe all the time.
Yes.
My apologies.
Good luck to you, Joe. You have all my attention.
Okay, so, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all opposed, no, so 401 on that. And we're moving on to staff reports, 8.1. I see the word budget, so I'm thinking it's Joe.
Yes. So this is an information item. This is our budget purposes, constraints, and guidelines. We've done this document for many years. And it really is, I like to call it a framework as we get into the budget season. So each year I start the process by doing some updates, moving years, other updates and just dollar amounts and stuff like that. I send it to our union representatives for any input they may have. And so this is a time where we get any input from the board. Essentially after this, I would take any input that I receive and bring it back at the February board meeting. And then I like to say that's kind of the official kickoff to budget season. So that's kind of the purpose of this document. So with that, I would entertain any comments or questions.
I will share the question I asked earlier today. On page 4, number 18, it discusses the student-teacher ratio. And I happen to know, and I don't know how, that there are caps for low enrollment classes. So we can't, I think, they're basically vary, but we have caps. So our principals can't put in as many students as they normally would in a regular class as they do. I'm sorry, they can't put as many students in a DE course as they do a regular course. And so I asked how in the future, given we seem to be adding more dual enrollment classes and popularity, how will that ratio work? Are we mindful of that ratio? And I was wondering if that is the Sierra College rule, or if that was coming down from the state, and how do we manage that? That's a long one. That's not how I asked it, but right. And John said.
All right, just wanted to make sure
Okay.
I wanted to answer.
I
Yeah, so it is something that we're monitoring both internally. Brad watches that and has conversations with our sites, and then two, on her side, works with Sierra College, because those caps vary department to department at Sierra College based on the content area, and they're all collectively bargained at Sierra College. So that would be President Duncan and his work there dealing with caps. And so we do push that as dual enrollment is not only grown in our district, it's now been legislated and passed and signed by the governor statewide. So we're now starting to see more parameters being addressed, challenges being addressed statewide. And so we're hoping through one of those avenues, we can make sure that it continues to work for us and not challenge us or inhibit us in any way. So again, we watch it internally to see if nothing's happening. Externally, what do we have to do to mitigate that? Could be a section here, section there, which is a cost, but we are looking at that. And then at the same time, we're really pushing our partners through Sierra College to say, we're going to need a little bit of give and take on this if we can to keep this thriving. So.
No, I appreciate that. Because I think I've randomly heard this past week that English 12 can only have 28 kids. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that's a big chunk. That's a smaller class, and therefore not as many students can take it, and then more sections are needed. So I was just wondering, forward thinking. So, but I have no suggestions for change. What's the question?
I have a comment on page 1, number 2, under purposes. My question was, it says that the district's highest priority shall be providing for an instructional program that accomplishes the district's goals mission statement. For me, I don't know where this mission statement came from, and I feel like it might be outdated, and it could better reflect what our board expectations are.
Yes, and we chatted a little bit about that earlier, and I think that is some old terminology from some of the prior district goals and mission, and I think I can go back and reword some of that to align more with the board expectations that we've been reading at the beginning of the board meetings, and use that as kind of an updated, more up-to-date language.
Thank you.
Nope. If there's nothing else, then I will plan on making that change, and we may get additional comments from union members or other people or cabinet, and so I will hopefully be bringing back in February a proposed final draft. That's it.
All right, staff comments. Pending agenda item 1.1. So,
And I have something here to say on this area when you're done.
I just noticed that the January 28th has the asterisk retention account.
At this time, there's no agenda items, but we'll let you know.
Okay.
So, as I had met with Joe last week, and he shared with me what I know that he will be sharing with all the board members about our upcoming enrollment numbers in the next few years and the projections. We are going to really need to be looking at our school boundaries, I think. And I feel like it would be very helpful, rather than in a board meeting, to set up some type of a workshop to garner information about that. And as we begin to discuss those potential boundary changes, to gather all the information and ask some questions in that setting. So I'm just proposing setting that up to begin that discussion and get way ahead of it.
Yeah, that's part of the plan. So yeah, there will be an initial presentation by Joe, probably the next board meeting in February, of what 10-year projections look like for all of our schools. There will be some eye-opening numbers in there. I'll save that for a little teaser for you guys. But Trustee Coleman is correct. As we go through that process, there will likely be a series of workshop type settings just so we can concentrate on that. And then getting back to our fun topic of committees, most likely subcommittees will be developed out of that depending on where the board's discussions go. So those of you selecting finance and facilities, you're going to get busy real fast. So, but yeah, that's a great point, and that is part of our kind of strategy building sessions right now of how to, once we present it, and all of you get the chance to kind of see it, and then that's where that direction and any other subsequent directions that we need to go or discuss or address, because there's a long list of them, but that will come out at that time. So Trustee Coleman's right, there's going to be a need for smaller work sessions or single item work sessions along the way as things keep getting discussed and talked about. So she's right on that.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up, because we have surfaced that topic pretty much every year, knowing that boundary changes is something we're going to have to do, and that is probably going to be the most politically charged discussion this board has had, and that says something given how politically charged we've had a number of our conversations, because when boundaries change, people go, have a lot of emotions. And it's something that we have to make sure that as we approach it in a very deliberative and instance, that we had people traveling across the city in 45-minute commute to work or to school every day for 12 years because previous boards didn't want to have that conversation because it was too politically charged. I think I've mentioned it at every year that this is something we've got to figure out how we're going to tackle it. So I agree with you, that's something we should get, and we should start getting the information, and we should start figuring out the approach. The other thing I think we should do is schedule some sort of board retreat now that we have a new board member. I know we've done that each time we've gotten a new board member. I think it's important to make sure that the new board members has buy-in to everything that we've set up. I know we've made some changes to board expectations when we got new board members. We might want to at least go, I'd like to make sure we have 100% buy-in on where we're going. So I think it'd be good for us to do something like that sometime in the first quarter.
I'll work with President Hall on that. And we have some plans because we have to do ethics training, Brown Act training, conflict of interest conversations, and look at board expectations. And that'd be good to do that as a group. So we'll be working on that.
I would just put a plug in. I really loved working with James and Dan, even if they could. I know I say it all the time, but even for that one, anyway, you'll know what to do. But
and James will be texting me in 3, 2. Probably watching.
But just, I found it very helpful to work through the board expectations last time, and that's just my input. Again,